Hello guys, and welcome back to the SimpliCode programming channel. This is Vikesh, and let's get started with today's topic, which is about polymorphism. So polymorphism is a very generic concept, which means that a particular object can take multiple form. Let's not even call it as object. Let's make it more generic. A particular entity can take multiple forms. If any entity in Java exhibits that kind of behavior, then we say that polymorphism is in action. That entity can be a class or an object or even a method. And in today's session, we are going to talk about that type of polymorphism which is exhibited by methods. So we will see how a particular method in Java can take many different forms containing different logics, but still having the same name. And that concept is called method overloading. So whenever you hear the word that you need to overload a particular method or this is method overloading happening, technically or conceptually, it's basically polymorphism in action, and polymorphism is being applied on a method here. And that phenomena we call as method overloading. So in today's session, we are going to have a look at how we can implement method overloading in Java. So the basic idea of method overloading is that the name of the method should remain the same. So you see in this particular class, which I have created to demonstrate the method overloading. So this is the class name, and the method name, which I am going to overload, is called multiply. And that is probably the first thing which you need to remember to implement method overloading correctly, that the method name is going to remain the same. The type of the return of the method may change. Here you see it's returning int here in the first instance. In the second instance also it is returning int, but in the third instance it is returning double. So the return type of an overloaded method can change. Another thing which can be varied between same method being defined again and again is that the number of arguments and the type of arguments. The first multiply method takes 2 arguments of integer type. The second multiply method takes 3 arguments of integer type, and the third multiply method takes 2 arguments of double type. So by using method overloading, you can vary the number of arguments and also the type of arguments. So the basic idea is that you define the method using the same name, but you do a variation in the arguments or the return types. And that's how you technically implement method overloading. In this particular case, the multiply is the method being overloaded. And in the first case, it is accepting 2 integer arguments and returning the result of multiplication of those arguments. In the second case, the same method name multiply here, the same visibility public, and the same return type, but this time 3 different types of integer values can be accepted, and this method, multiply method, is going to return the multiplication of 3 integer numbers. In the third case, at line 15, I again use the same multiply name, the method name, but this time the return type becomes double, and this method accepts 2 double arguments and returns the result of the multiplication of these double values. So the method name is same, but the arguments vary, and also the return type may also vary. That's the basic premise of how you implement method overloading. So whenever you want to implement it, keep the method name same, vary the arguments and the return types. And after that, I'm just created a public static void main method here. I have initialized the class here, this particular class itself, method overloading demo. And then I am calling the multiply method on the object. And based on the number of arguments I supply, the corresponding method will get invoked. That is something which Java will take care automatically, that whatever type and the number of arguments you supply in the call, in the invocation, based on the number and the type of the arguments, Java will try to find a matching method in the overloaded methods. If it is able to find a method, it's going to get invoked. If it is not able to find the method, you will get an error. In fact, you will get a compile error itself while you invoke a method for which the definition is not available. For example, if I try to just copy this and make an invalid method invocation, let's provide 4 arguments. And if I do that here itself, I will get the error because Java is not able to find a multiply method in this particular class, which is accepting 4 integer arguments. So you will get the compilation error itself before you can even run the program. But the basic idea is that you use overloading with multiple different types and the number of variables. So I'm calling multiply 3 times. Let's run this particular program and observe the output. So let me just bring this output down. Yep. So first I call demo.multiply and pass two integer values 10 and 20. When this happens, this particular method gets invoked and it returns a result of 10 into 20, which is 200. In the second invocation, I'm calling again the multiply method, but this time with 3 arguments, 3 integer arguments specifically. And this call is going to match this particular method signature, and it is going to execute whatever is written inside this particular method, which is the multiplication of the 3 arguments being supplied. So 10 into 20 into 30, which is 6,000. The third case, let's go back here at line 25. The third case of invocation of the multiply method is accepting 2 decimal based arguments, 10.5 and 20.5. So Java is going to look at the class and trying to find a method which can accept decimal values. And there it is. This is the method signature, which is going to match the invocation. Java is going to do this matching automatically for you. And here, whatever logic you have written inside this particular method will get executed. So 10.5 into 20.5 returns 215.25, and that's the output you get. So this is how you can use method overloading in Java. This is a rather fairly simple example, but you can make it as complex as you want. But a word of caution, do not use it too extensively. In fact, a lot of expert programmers do not recommend using method overloading because it becomes very confusing. Use it only when you do not have any other way out. Use it only where this is the only way to write correct form of methods with the right readability. Otherwise, generally, there would be other ways to avoid method overloading by writing concrete purpose-friendly method names themselves. Maybe you don't need to use the multiply name again and again. You can call it as multiply 2 numbers, multiply 3 numbers, multiply doubles, so that the method name itself is more explicit and understandable rather than juggling around different signatures of the same method. Especially it becomes more confusing if you are creating an interface which is to be consumed by a third-party developers or third-party application. So try to use it with caution. That's what I'm trying to stress here. And that's all I want to cover in this particular session. And in the next session, we are going to talk about method overriding. And if you like this video, a thumbs up would be massively appreciated. And please don't forget to subscribe to SimpliCode for more programming related videos. Thank you, and we'll meet again in the next session.